to order. Let me call to order the June 2023 Southbury Zoning Commission meeting. Let's all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Seating of alternates, alternate Jay? I'll seat you tonight in place of Dave. Public hearings, there are none, right? No public hearings? Am I reading this correctly?
Currently underway.
Okay. Old business, application number 23ZC0003, 493 Parcel G and 519 Parcel H, Heritage Road, Triangulum Associates LLC petitioner regarding a zone change request.
It appears that the applicant's not here today. Judy had drafted up a memo located within the file from the Planning Commission's referral. They've issued a positive referral citing it would expedite the essentially application process for any proposed tenants. And it does clarify a couple definitions that we don't currently have specified in our regulations.
Okay, when, this is go to public hearing,
Mm-hmm.
which we haven't set yet.
Correct.
But typically, all right, so are you gonna set the public hearing now? All right. Do I hear a motion that we set the public hearing for July, our July meeting?
I move that we set a public hearing for our July meeting.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. New business, file number 23ZC0002, 522 Georges Hill Road, PDD number 19, Joe Sloan petitioner for discussion regarding possible amendment to PDD number 19 pertaining to siding requirements on dwellings to be constructed. Okay.
You'd like to come
How
up,
are you?
state your name and address?
State your name and address.
Hi, I'm Jill Sloan with the address of 522 North Georges Hill Road, Southbury.
How are you?
I'm good. I did want to say Raj wanted to be here, but he had to take his mom to a work event tonight in New Jersey. He wasn't blowing off the meeting, so.
All right, so right now, the floor is yours, unless we need to, what do we need to do? We have to set a public hearing for this.
Right, does this need to be referred to planning?
Yes.
So we need to refer that to planning prior to setting the public hearing. I did get a chance to read over the regs today. It seemed pretty simple.
Okay.
Yeah, very minor changes, so similar to what they expressed
Express, okay.
during the last meeting, so.
All right, so let's refer this to planning, so we can get it back for next month, and let's set the public hearing for next month.
I don't believe we can set the public hearing at this meeting until we get referral back from planning.
From planning.
That was the mistake we made last
We've
month.
always done that.
Yeah, I think that was the mistake we made last month because following Gail's acceptance, we referred it to referred it to planning and set the public hearing, where we were supposed to wait till this meeting to receive planning's referral and then schedule the public hearing. So I think that should be the same cadence we follow with this app.
That's a change, because 25 years, we've never done it that way. But that's fine, if that's what the rules
Yeah,
call
just
for.
coming from Judy and-
Let's
and
do it
going
right,
over the rules.
let's follow the
Fair
rules and
enough.
regulations, I don't want anything to happen.
Sorry about that, guys.
Fine,
So-
so,
Do we have to, Gary, do we have to wait till September
yeah.
for a public? That's what I thought.
Okay, so it's July, they accept it, and then August is no meeting,
Meeting in August.
and then September.
September, so we'll set the public hearing for September 2023. I hear a motion to make that call.
I move that we set a public hearing for September 2023. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Second, all those, any other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay, so have a good summer. Fall.
Yes.
No, it's still gonna be summer.
That's true. So is this gonna be a planning meeting or a zoning?
No, it's it's gonna go to planning for, we refer it to planning, so planning will get it for their next meeting, which will be
The 20th of this month.
of this month,
Okay.
okay? So, if you want, you can go to that meeting and explain your way through it to them.
Oh, should we go?
Probably should go.
Okay.
Speak with Judy prior to the meeting. She'll draft up a memo for
Okay.
planning. She'll review the regulations and provide them a synopsis of what you're planning on doing. If at any point you want to talk with her, just have that confab. It's not a bad idea.
Okay. So, but when I go to that meeting, they're going to take it back to you?
They're gonna kick it back with their
Okay.
recommendation, either approving it, disapproving it, or approving it with changes or recommendations, different. Yeah, I don't see any major issue here.
Perfect. Okay. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night.
All right, I want to add an item to other business tonight, and it has to do with cannabis. We drafted some information for us on cannabis, so I want to add cannabis to other business tonight. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
I move
Second.
that we add cannabis to the other business for our meeting tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want a second? I know, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, what do we have?
Yeah, we can hit the next item on the agenda. which
Zoning,
is
it's your report.
My officer report. Real quick, memo to zoning commission from Jordan Marcinko, land use enforcement officer. Date is June 14th, 2023, and the subject is my staff report. Referencing site 346 Jeremy Swamp Road regarding an update for the commission. During the last zoning commission meeting, this commission was made aware of an ongoing violation at the above referenced property. On June 1st, 2023, a citation hearing was conducted by myself, Town Attorney Tom Kalin, Citation Hearing Officer Bill Davis, and the counsel for the owner of 346 Jeremy Swamp Road, Attorney Peter Donnelly. Upon the conclusion of this hearing, it was determined that the violations of subsequent fines were properly issued and the owner was properly notified. Hearing Officer Bill Davis will be rendering his decision and submitting the necessary form to the court. As a result of this hearing, the counsel representing the property owner stated that voluntary compliance is being offered. Therefore, the fines as of June 1st, 2023, which total $22,200, have been paused pending bi-weekly updates as to the progress of bringing the structure into compliance with the Town of Southbury zoning regulations. Moving forward to a request for clarity. Southbury has seen a sharp increase in solar development and installations going on around town. From a land use perspective, these are relatively simple applications that will require a review of the overall building height, and as long as the panels are roof-mounted, then conforming to building setbacks generally becomes pretty simple. However, there are a number of non-conforming parcels that are requesting approvals to install solar panels onto the roof of their pre-existing non-conforming homes. This has posed a problem from a zoning perspective due to the fact that non-conforming structures should not be expanded upon to increase the nonconformity. As a result, if the owner of a pre-existing non-conforming structure, which does not adhere to the zoning setbacks for that zone, then applies to install solar panels on their roof, there's suddenly a complication. Reviewing regulations drafted by different towns across Connecticut, it appears that a number of municipalities have drafted solar regulations that specifically call out nonconformities and how to deal with them as they pertain to solar installations. Therefore, I am requesting any clarity that this commission can provide as to how Southbury should be dealing with these types of applications moving forward.
Here's my opinion. Solar panels are not a use of the structure. Okay, they don't create any more living space, they don't create any more space, period. Okay? And as long as they stay within the footprint of the existing building that is non-conforming, I don't see any issue with it. That's my personal opinion. We probably have to draft something to put that in the regulations
To make it solid.
and make, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, speak up, please.
In the case of solar panels that extend above the structure instead of being flush with the roof.
Well, that we'll have to discuss. I mean, you're right.
Not standard in what we get for applications.
Typically, it's all flush stuff.
But it's
I mean,
not something that couldn't happen.
Maybe off the roof a couple
Right.
inches.
I have them, and
They just go right along with the roof line.
Typically, they won't choose a home that needs a certain additional pitch. The solar companies right now are only lobbying for houses that are perfectly primed
Easy.
and easy for them,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
But that's not to say that someone who didn't want to install solar on their own home, regardless of having a subcontracting group own them for you, they could, determine that this is something they want and need, and they'd have to add additional pitch to their house.
Yeah, we do have some buildings around that have flat roofs, so.
Right, yeah, and Fish Rock and those tiny parcels end up being a big part of this issue. And the idea that those people should be, removed from the ability to, tap into solar energy in the future seems ridiculous. And the census that I got from across municipalities, they all handled this, whether it be through regulations or they just move forward with the applications as is and they just call it a day. I'm under a 30-day time crunch with these applications, unfortunately, as it pertains to solar.
So how do we want to handle it? If it's flat on the roof like yours, Jay, I say just. give 'em the permit.
How do we
So
deal
long
with
as- I'm sorry?
how do we deal with it if for whatever reason it is obstructing the view or abutting property owners have an issue with, I understand, no, yes, but there's always somebody that's gonna go,
course.
I can get better, and
Yeah.
so do we deal with that on a issue by issue
Case
basis?
by case basis.
Case by case,
That's
yeah.
one way to do
And
it.
this will
Right.
have nothing.
For now.
Yeah.
This will have nothing to do with somebody wanting to remotely put them in the yard or something. This is
That's
strictly on the roof.
Completely different,
Right.
completely different.
Yeah.
Because
It's
at
gotta be
that
on the
point,
roof, it's gotta be flat, like, what's the?
I say ours are about that far off the roof, probably
Off the
6
roof, and then
inches.
you got the panel itself, so you're talking maybe a foot.
Yeah,
yeah, with
So,
the,
I mean,
with the connection to the roof,
Yeah.
separating it, like, they need to be able
roughly a
to.
foot off
Roughly a
of
foot,
the
yeah.
existing shingle.
And a lot of that isn't the pitch. A lot of that's just the mechanics of
It
it.
just goes with the flow of the roof.
goes with the flow of the roof.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, looks
And
beautiful.
if we have an issue where someone, based on that criteria, has a problem of, then we'll have to deal with that as, I don't think
Okay.
you're gonna
Yeah.
have that, to tell you the truth.
So as long as they're flush with the roof, no additional pitches, and are retained within the footprint of
Footprint
the
of the roof,
building,
Right.
not extending outside of what is already pre-existing, then for the most part, this should be something we can deal with on a case-by-case basis while we move towards getting codified and structured regulations.
And how do we prove that? Like, do we ask for, some doc or draft from the solar company?
They will have to, I
to-
think, yeah, as a part of the application, they go up to you for, Jordan, plans or something that shows the installation.
Correct. They have to provide a good amount of data
Okay.
to the building department.
Mhm.
And they do so many of these applications, they just
They
copy
know
and
what it
paste
is.
all the building information
Okay.
into my applications. And a lot of it doesn't pertain to me, but in a case like this, being able to review all that additional information is imperative.
That sounds good.
And the integrity of the roof they're putting it on, that, we have nothing to do with that, right?
Building department, 100%, but they have engineers affiliated with these solar companies that won't touch a roof if it's
Right.
not of a certain.
Unsound, yeah.
It's just like,
Wow.
once upon a time, we required a zoning permit to have your roof reshingled. I got rid of that. Wow. Because that's stupid.
Still need a building permit.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
God, because I have 3 roofs that gotta be done right now.
So you're gonna handle this on an interim basis, on a case-by-case, based upon our discussion, but going forward, we still wanna codify it.
I would agree.
regulations.
Yeah. Because I'm
So,
not,
can
not
you draft
getting-
up some regulations for
Absolutely.
it, and/or the location where we put it, and let's review it next month, and set the public hearing, we'll go to public hearing sometime in the fall.
And how are like people who wanna put massive things out in like these big arrays out in fields or, abutting property?
Different, that's a,
that's a bulk coverage by
That's a bulk
structures.
coverage.
And that is still under our auspices, or is that the building?
It's
It
still-
is,
They
it's
still
also
need a zoning
planning.
permit, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Planning wouldn't be involved in
No.
a ground array, because that, as we view it, is a simple structure. It's an accessory structure, but it's a simple structure.
Okay, but that falls under your coverage.
Okay.
But the accessory structure is important.
Yep.
Because we've had individuals who own lots next to their primary dwelling they wanted to turn the lot next to their property into a solar farm.
Right.
There's no dwelling on the property, it can't be accessory to nothing, so therefore that was effectively stopped. But if they make the lot contiguous, then you get your solar panels on the ground mounted. But, which seems advantageous for a lot of people. If you ever have to change your roof or anything like that, people may start shifting towards ground mounted more than we're seeing the roof mounted
Especially if
solar.
your house is under a bunch of trees and you can't,
Right,
and you
exactly.
can't get sunlight, you
Yeah.
gotta get it from somewhere, and if you have an acre abutting up to your property somewhere and you wanna put a,
I do a lot of the solar applications. We've had 2 ground mounted in the entire time that I've been here. But we've also had 3 very recently come in for the nonconformity
Oh, really?
case of this. So again, case-by-case basis. For now, it's not seeming too frequent. So it should give us the time we need to draft these regs before the ball really gets ahead of us.
Okay. Any other discussion? Let's move on to any other business that may properly come before the commission. File number 23 ZC 0001, 455 Main Street North, PDD number 7. Tim Fanti petitioner, discussion regarding amendment to PDD number 7 regarding privacy yard.
You can come up, yep.
Hi there, I'm Tim.
Hey, Tim.
How you doing, Tim?
How are you?
Your address is?
455 Main Street North.
Thank you.
Let's start back in April. I had requested that the town clerk record a limited property survey that I had commissioned for 455 Main Street North. And at the time, I was told that the document had to be approved by the planning department, at which point I spoke with Judy, who chatted with me for a little while, and was somewhat concerned that there may have been some kind of a lapse in documentation submitted to the planning department or planning commission for PPD, number 7 over the years, and that the matter of my request to record a survey would have to come before the zoning commission. So that's basically what I know. I'm here to answer any questions. I'm a little, I don't understand, but that's where I am.
I'd be happy to provide some clarity.
Could you, please?
So, Mr. Fanti wants to effectively file a map with the town that is essentially already filed, but he wants to increase the scale. Mr. Fanti's purpose for increasing the scale is to make a very clear delineation that's on that approved map as the privacy yard visible, because at the scale that he currently has, it just kind of fades into the back. Judy, in going through this file, had figured out that PDD number 7 is egregiously unapproved as far as all of the amendments that have gone through and have been filed with the town clerk but never came before this commission. So the issue moving forward is figuring out how this commission wants to clean up the file, whether it be something that we draft up in our office and we do a bulk review of everything, or frankly, whatever this commission determines to be the necessary avenue to figure out something like this. We've gone through all the PDD files. This is the only one that's been treated as such.
Since it's not Mr. Fanti's fault,
No.
and it's really the commission, which I was part of the commission at the time, but I remember this happening. Yeah, we should probably
Clean it
tackle
up.
it, clean it up, get it to the point where we're comfortable with it. Obviously, Mr. Fanti should be involved
I agree.
with the final document.
He's been a wealth of knowledge as far as this goes.
Wait, you've got 27 amendments to the declaration.
As it
I'm
stands.
assuming that majority of them were never submitted under
I'd say
a
handful.
process. That's a whole lot of documentation to review.
Were they making significant changes of any kind?
Well, each of the amendments to the declaration, because I served as president for 2 years, I was on the board for 3. So each of the amendments over the years, 97, 98, 99, then 2000, 2001, each mainly has to do with the introduction of a new building unit into the association. All of the parameters for the admission, all the specifications, any other documentation that would have been required for zoning or otherwise. And that's the majority of them, excuse me. That's the majority of them. There were a couple of instances where there were other types of amendments that were filed. For example, amendment number, I'll just, from my perspective, amendment number 26 actually introduces my unit, 455 Main Street North, into the association with all of its parameters, et cetera. Delineates also the attribution of the privacy yard between the former Unit A and A1, myself, all of which encompassed the original 457 Main Street North with its privacy yard. So at the time that my unit was introduced, the decision was made to actually attribute a portion of the privacy yard to each of the owners of Unit A and A1, which was fine. That was that. Amendment number 27 actually addressed an issue that arose pursuant to a settlement agreement between the former owner of 457 and 455 Main Street North and the association, which allowed for an easement that was granted to the association to access the clubhouse and the pool. And it would be accessing via the introduction of a spur off the main driveway, the creation of a parking area, and the addition of a pathway from the parking area into the main entrance, let's say, of the clubhouse. That was the 27 was the ratification of the option granted to the association to not only have an easement permitting the use of the property in perpetuity, but to also restore the parcel of land consisting of the driveway, the parking area, and the walkway back into a common element of the association, whereas it was previously part of the limited common element. So the majority of the amendments address the specific introduction of a new unit as it was constructed, one or two maybe at a time. And the only, since I've looked at all of them, the only ones that were really different had to do with this issue of my unit, which arose under development rights that were retained by the developer under amendment number 3. And then the addition of the unit, and then the allocation of the landmass, let's say, back to common element. So that's the history of all of the 27.
What was the most recent year of an amendment?
2002.
So there has been nothing since then?
No.
Okay.
No, this was all pursuant to development. Actually, in the context of, I had mentioned to Judy that in one of the developments, in the approval actually for by the zoning commission of the amendment to modify to include the parking area, the driveway spur, and the walkway, there was the following reference. Whereas the modifications to PDD number 7 as approved herein in the opinion of the commission do not change the fundamental character of the approved detailed plans and hence have not been referred to planning commission. Thus the modifications will bring the site into compliance with the zoning regulations. So I had said to her, is that a somewhat umbrella point of view that the zoning commission may have had throughout the years regarding the nature of the changes that were being made, and would it not be appropriate to consider that this was the opinion of the zoning commission, that the matters would not have to be brought to the planning commission? That was just a point of reference on my part. It was a question. Trying to dispose of this expeditiously.
We have the latitude that if we consider the modification minor in nature, we don't have to go forward to planning, we can just act on it without public hearing? I don't know if that's the way they handled some of those things.
This was a reference in in one very specific, which was the modification for the driveway, parking area, et cetera. I don't know the nature of any similar wording that was in any other of the amendments that were passed to zoning over the years.
Are there supporting historic minutes that would clarify for,
Our latitude of minor changes? Yes. I know for a fact, one of them on this PDD was allowing a different type of screen door or front door on the units than what was originally approved. Again, I don't want to say, I guess I shouldn't say I was part of it. I only started on the commission back in '98, so this was a little before me.
So we can hold you responsible.
No. I do recall the issue with the changings of that area up on top with the.
From the upper
leadership
campus, yeah.
units And the community center, the pool and all that stuff in the parking lot. I do remember that, but that wasn't under my tenure. Let's just-
I'm just not understanding the substantive issue that would prevent him from recording this. How does the PDD prevent him in its state currently from recording the survey?
Right.
Like, that's the piece I'm missing.
That was a question that I had asked, to the degree that all of the other amendments were recorded over the years. And I'm saying, here at this time, 20 years later, I have a survey that provides incremental information to the residents that I feel is actually important for a number of reasons that I won't burden you with. And I just want it to be officially noted that it's out there.
How
and it's
many
the
units
easiest.
are there?
Sorry?
How many units are there?
51.
Okay. And there's, as far as you know, there's no one who has got a problem or is in disagreement or anything else? It's just going along fine?
Oh, yeah, there's no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
No, there's no controversies. The only controversies that exist at the moment have to do really with the privacy yard,
Right.
and the degree to which people are aware of the specific parameters, which is really the intent of the survey, to actually map it out, but also to mark with landmarks and other designations on the map exactly. And I had given a copy to Judy that I thought that she was going to pass on. But that's basically it. It's a very simplified survey to remove all of the extraneous information and say, here's the unit, here's the privacy yard, here's the privacy yard in relation to some other boundaries. There are some markers. Each one of the markers is labeled on the document itself so that people would be able to understand exactly where it was if it came up.
I don't think the map filing really was the main issue. It seemed simple enough, and your purpose for it was pretty basic
Honorable.
as far as that goes, and honorable, I would say. In Judy diving into the file and determining that so much of this had gone unnoticed, I think the whole thing was like a full stop, get it in front of your eyes, get an assessment from this commission as to how we can move forward. I don't anticipate the filing of this map to be something difficult or egregious as far as this goes. But the idea of doing that in the face of such confusion didn't seem like, the operation of the land use office at that time without your consideration.
So can we suggest that your department sort of clean it up? Maybe submit to us a final draft of
Synopsis of everything?
of how you want it to look, and then we can move on that and be done.
Yeah.
Gary, would that work?
If everyone's amicable to that, I think that's fine.
This is it a parcel of land? Is it a piece of, is it a thimble? I don't understand what, first of all, I'm sorry, I've been in Southbury my entire life, but I don't know what a privacy is.
Private, shall I describe?
Yeah.
A privacy yard in this context is defined in the declaration as a limited common element. Limited common element being one that can only be used in essence, in this context, by me.
Okay.
Like a
To-
patio.
There we
To-
go.
to-
Not
to-
huge.
All right.
To pass over it, we have legal opinion. To pass over it without approval is inappropriate. It's actually trespass.
So you can't put a rabbit hutch there or something?
Oh, no, I can't do anything with it.
Oh, okay.
I can only use it. I'm still governed by all of the regulations of the association, by the town and everything else.
Yep.
You know, but
It's just yours.
it's a privacy yard, right, exactly. And it's defined as a privacy yard, which is also then parallel defined as a limited common element.
And just out of sort of an odd curiosity, is yours the only unit that has a privacy yard?
No, the original privacy yard encompassed a fairly large area of the upper campus and was designated as such by the original developer, who owned 457, with the rights to develop 455 by converting a portion of the landmass into a unit, and then a surrounding area that she was in essence retaining for herself. Maureen Morel, name you probably know. And she was retaining it for herself. When it came to pass that my unit was actually constructed through the demolition of a garage, and then the placement of a garage where a prior breezeway existed, and then the construction of my unit, which is actually a barn. It looks like a barn.
yeah,
It's
red
the barn,
barn-like structure.
driving along, you look in there, is a big, nice red barn. And there was a large area. When they did that, they decided that to tidy things up, instead of having the privacy yard in its entirety usable by only 455 and 457, they would attribute a portion of the privacy yard to each of those units. And that was in essence what was done in part in amendment number 26.
All right, well, we'll work something out. You just can't use the privacy yard for photo cells.
For which?
Put solar cells on.
No, I can't do that.
Unless it has a roof.
Unless it's a roof.
Well, that's the roof.
All right.
So at this point, I'm just going to wait.
Yeah, Tim, allow us to
I think we'll get to the bottom of this, and everybody will be
clean it up. We'll clean it up.
and everybody
Okay.
happy
And then
with it.
I don't see your map getting filed to be a problem.
But it probably won't occur for a while.
You mean in your lifetime?
I used to work for a chairman who said eventually. Eventually meant never.
Well, you've waited this long. No.
Yeah, you and I have been working since September.
Yeah, exactly. We're on various dimensions of understanding stuff.
I'm sure we can have it done this year.
Oh, okay.
So you're halfway there.
Yeah, I know, we're halfway there. Hopefully, I mean, depends on how quickly
Yeah.
We can
upstairs can
get through this
all that.
cleanup process.
Okay. I have one other question. Will you,
No.
Easy answer.
in the context of, let's say, for example, the amendment to the declaration and the approval by the zoning commission back in June of 2002, which gave rise to the parking area, the spur, and the walkway. I'm naive in this, mainly naive, not totally naive. Is there such a thing as an expectation of compliance by the zoning commission of what was approved in its document?
I mean, I would say yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, I
to
would
the
think by-
degree that the
That's not
original
legal.
I mean,
approval.
I think, I mean, I can hear another question coming, but I think generically speaking,
Right.
you
Well,
know,
So originally, the concept was, here's a pad for parking, and the zoning commission is permitting 6 spaces. And they expected 2 of them to be used for handicap parking, and marked. They also, on the map, the Plan B map that they approved, noted certain areas where they expected, I would call them screening, landscape screens. Some of them were never constructed.
Uh-oh.
And those that may have been there in part are no longer there. And some of the plantings that were there on the map with the expectation that they were serving some function of screening have been removed over time. So what's the approved, the manner of understanding what's expected? I mean, if,
I think if screening was approved for a purpose, then it should be there.
it should be there.
And if it was removed because someone wanted more land for something else and/or.
A storm,
What?
a storm
It's not whether they should put it back.
should be restored.
I think it should be restored.
Can I work with you then to understand how I can bring that about, through the zoning commission? I mean, there are clear instances on the maps that screens,
Well, screening.
not there
there's
anymore.
a purpose for screening. It's a privacy. It's something
Correct.
that was there, put in there for a purpose. We approved it under those conditions.
and it was
And
intended to be
for some
there.
reason, it's not there now. It should go back,
Right,
I think.
I think.
I don't know.
Absolutely. To me, that's about compliance.
I think,
Absolutely.
with all due respect to the expectation of the zoning commission at the time of what they did, they thought it was appropriate to have a screen. One of them was never built.
Who
Never.
is responsible for compliance with the,
Well, that's the question. Who's responsible for enforcement?
no, not
Oh, who's-
enforcement.
Oh, who's
was
responsible? Well, the association was and its, legal team was probably responsible
But I mean,
for.
was each owner responsible?
No, not at all. This was
Association.
the
that's
association.
what it
The
would go back
association
to.
was approved to do a certain thing, and they either have not done it or they have not maintained it.
Then that's their problem.
But
That-
how do we get them to do it?
You speak to the fella at the end of the table.
That's what I said, I'll work with him. Well, I'm happy to come here because I was looking for something definitive vis-à-vis the map, the survey, but also some real clarity on what the expectation of the zoning commission is on an ongoing basis when they approve something.
Well, I think that's why people report violations or in nonconformity, so that, the commission can have an opportunity and Jordan can inspect and determine whether or not they're in conformity with, whatever was approved previously, so.
This one does get a little bit tough, because it's been so long that the time has elapsed from the original approval to the plantings getting installed to certain events occurring. You referenced a storm event had damaged some of I think one got struck by lightning,
Two.
two of them.
But the expectation of the commission is that they be restored because it's part of the screen that was intended at the time of the approval.
Right.
Yeah, so long as it's expressly stated that it's.
Well, the map shows that it's
See where we
proposed.
end up with what Jordan summarizes for us, then we'll take up whatever else is outstanding after that, but let's get one.
And maybe there's a reason something wasn't restored.
Well, that's the challenging part that I dive into, because we're going back 10, 15 years plus to ascertain why something was removed, if something was never planted, and that's the hairy situation I get into of, do we need documentation of every month of what this place looked like, photographic proof of what was installed, and it just gets dicey. If we have documentation that clearly states that this needs to be in this location, X amount of plantings for the purpose of screening, then, like we said, that seems like something that can be followed up on if it was for any reason removed.
Well, let me just say this. The proposal, the Plan B option that was approved clearly indicates proposed additional landscape buffer. Somebody circled it, et cetera. It was never constructed. It's not there now. It doesn't even matter if it was constructed, if it was removed for whatever legitimate or illegitimate reason. If the zoning commission believed that it was essential that there be a buffer there, then there should be a buffer there.
Yeah, but that's an argument you should make upon a finding or an issuance of a violation. That's not something that we're gonna predetermine sitting here now.
No, I
So why don't
agree.
we wrap up what Jordan's got for the synopsis, so we can harmonize that, and then we'll move on to deficiencies in the compliance with this document from 25 years ago.
Is this the same association right along?
Excuse me?
Is this the same association?
Oh, yeah,
as far as
same,
this-
no change in ownership leader, yeah. Right.
That's good.
In other words, we can't preemptively decide here.
No,
There has to
I
be-
don't expect that. I'm just looking
Yeah.
for sort of the tonality of the beliefs of the zoning commission as a direction, that, you know, if it was approved with a certain expectation, then the expectation should continue on. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I think generically speaking, if the zoning commission, you know, has a regulation in place, I mean, it's the natural expectation that it will be complied with. So I think that's a blanket statement that you can make. But I think the effort, and I think, you know, what Mark is saying here is, we can't preemptively give you a conclusion to say.
No, I understand
you know,
that.
the zone-
No.
I went to the zoning commission and they said this, so you better start.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere with
No,
it.
I'm not saying you are, I'm
Right,
just,
no.
again, I'm just also analogizing here, but I think, you know, we're dealing with one thing, like Mark said, we do that, and then this other thing, which is of import, would be, you know, brought through the channels, and then, you know. we
First
would-
things first, I'm okay.
Yes.
I'm just, first things first is okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way, one thing at a time. Let's not overcomplicate the whole.
It's enough to chew on with the first one, I understand that.
27
Does
amendments.
the zoning, issuing a zoning permit require an as-built drawing?
Not always,
Not always?
Oh.
not always. It depends.
Do PDDs require that?
What was the question?
As-built drawings.
Oh, okay.
As built, a zoning permit.
Yeah.
What would the zoning permit be for? I guess would be the question.
Well,
'Cause
as
if I'm-
a part of the zoning permit, a document that the owner has to submit is an as-built drawing showing that he constructed whatever he was supposed to per the permit.
If we're talking site development.
Yeah.
And actual construction of structures, then yes, absolutely. If we're talking interior fit outs of a
No,
existing
not, this is
PDD,
purely,
you know
in
what I
this
mean?
case,
Yeah.
privacy fence, if that was actually called out for on the plans, then it should have been there.
Correct.
And
An
if
as-built
it
should have
wasn't
been
there, then the permit should.
But as far as we know, there is no as-built.
On
Probably
file.
not.
We already know.
We have the Plan B map that Tim references, and in going through minutes and agendas, there's discussion of Plan B maps, but a lack of concrete resolutions stating things such as the privacy yard. We have that data because it's on the map. We don't have it in resolutions or things of that nature, text amendments. That in lies where I found the challenge of chasing after this as a violation or a discrepancy.
Okay, well, I think maybe going forward, we should require that as a part of the package. You issue a permit for a large development like this, and they should supply an as-built drawing showing all the improvements made on the property to make sure that you can review it and make sure it conforms to what we approved,
Right.
so. and if
That's
not-
what I would
and
have
if not,
expected.
then
Because if
we
you
have-
if you want a CZC for anything, an as-bilt's required.
Right.
So that pretty much covers it right there. If they developed anything at a PDD site, you know, structural wise, they're gonna want certificates for that.
Right.
Right.
And it's written into our regs that as part of that certificate, you have to provide an as-built and I
Right.
have to inspect.
Yeah.
Well, I think Mark's point was well taken. Why don't we see, once you've sort of cleaned it up,
I might stumble upon something.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like.
right, exactly,
doing
but
this-
once you've cleaned it
yeah.
up, then come back to us and let us know where are we?
Yeah.
Because it may be a disaster, or it may be no big deal. Who knows at this point? I vote for the no big
I'm
deal.
hoping for the second one too, yeah.
All right,
Good, thanks very much for your
you're
time.
welcome.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks for coming, Tim.
All right, any correspondence?
We have to do,
Cita-
Judy's,
Yeah, well,
oh, you're gonna do that,
Number
okay.
6.
Yep, sorry,
we added it, so,
no worries.
we got that. Sorry. Correspondence, citation hearing minutes for 346 Jeremy Swamp Road.
Tanya? Yeah. Citation minutes?
Should be in here.
So you want us to read them? Oh,
Should be.
did you?
This is the hearing officer?
Yeah, you guys weren't involved in that,
No,
so.
we're not, so, fine.
If you choose to review it, by all means,
If anybody has any questions on it,
Citation
reach out to me.
on the back?
reach out to Jordan.
Ah.
You know where to find it.
All right, minutes, approval, last month's minutes, any issues?
Only a minor typographical. Page 3, paragraph 3, we had don't need, so specifications not being needed. Don't may was the phraseology.
Okay.
It's probably just may, but that's
Page 3,
trivial,
Paragraph 3.
you know.
Thanks, Rod.
All right. Other than that, minutes are okay?
Yeah, I had no
Yeah.
problem with the minutes.
Okay.
Here.
Your approval for the minutes, with the exception that Brad mentioned?
I move.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bills? No. All right, the one item we added was cannabis. We have a memo here from Judy.
And those are the draft regulations.
Do we have to read this into the record?
The draft regulations? No, I think that's just something that this commission should.
But we
review.
haven't seen the memo, right, Jordan? Didn't come,
No, you've not.
No, okay.
But I think,
I thought maybe I just missed
I
something.
think it would be good to
Wanna
have
read this into the
Oh, sure.
the draft
The whole-
regulations in front of everyone.
All
Would you
righty.
like us to send those out, the draft
Probably
regs?
should.
Yeah?
I think it
After
would be
reading
helpful.
this into the record, let's send it out there.
That
You want me
sounds
to
good.
read this in, please?
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay. As you know, the moratorium on cannabis for the town expired on June 8, 2023. The following is information for you to consider as it relates to the various issues on municipalities' authority to regulate cannabis and establishments. Kindly review, discuss, and advise as to how the commission may wish to continue forward. To refresh, effective July 1, 2021, municipalities could enact certain zoning regulation or ordinances for cannabis establishments, temporarily prohibits municipalities from granting zoning approval for retailers or micro-cultivators other than a number that would allow for one of each for every 25,000 residents. Department of Consumer Protection Commissioner states that they will be able to set a population cap for the number of retailers or micro-cultivators in the future. The bill stipulates that the municipality must not grant an approval for any applicant that would result in exceeding the density cap, with the allowable retailer micro-cultivators being one for every 25,000. It could be interpreted that this would preclude Southbury even having to entertain any application, since we only have a population of no more than 20,000 people. The Office of Legislative Research, OLR, allows municipalities to amend their regulations to take actions regarding cannabis establishments with the following Burger dot points. Prohibit them from opening, reasonably restrict their hours and signage, restrict their proximity to religious institutions, schools, charitable institutions, hospitals, veterans' homes, or certain military establishments. Municipal zoning officials are required to report these types of zoning changes in writing to the State Office of Policy and Management and the State Department of Consumer Protection within 14 days. Many local officials have cited the need for more time to review the state law, craft new regulations, and solicit public feedback. However, it is important to remember a key provision of the law warns that municipalities, that's a big word, take no action through zoning regulations, cannabis establishments must be zoned as similar uses would be. You may wish to consider this through either banning it, as did Newtown and Greenwich, citing a conflict between state and federal law, or the adoption of comprehensive regulations. A draft was provided on February 16, 2023 for consideration, and have attached the same for your review at your convenience should you decide to take this route. Please note, this is a, quote, working, unquote, draft that can be edited and altered, but is a, quote, starting point, unquote. Or simply add, cannabis retailer/establishment is a prohibited use.
I have a problem with this.
Why is it our duty to either say yes or no to cannabis?
I'm sorry, Gary, what was your question?
Why is it our duty to say yes or no to cannabis?
Oh,
That's a
We regulate land use, not,
Business, we don't have anything to do with making.
that should come from the first selectmen's,
Yeah.
or the select, board of selectmen.
Can we refer it?
but I think the point is we shouldn't have to refer.
If the town of Southbury, through its board of selectmen, say, yes, we want cannabis, we want the revenue from cannabis, which isn't a lot, but it's some. Okay, then
And
we'll
then
work
we
with it. We'll
establish
decide where it's
regulation.
gonna go, based on land use and the regulations.
Right, right.
But it's not, it shouldn't be up to us to say yes or no on, we want
Yeah,
cannabis,
yeah.
we don't want cannabis.
So the
And have
reason,
we ever had to do that for any other kind of business?
Sure.
Say, we know we don't want this kind of business, not a particular
I don't know, that,
location or or zoning, but
There are
what is the precedent?
some businesses, tanneries,
Remember the piggery thing?
figures.
you know, a whole bunch of businesses are
We've said-
prohibited
we've said we
here
don't
in the
want those.
town.
Oh, yes, let's not forget
Okay.
that.
They're in the regulations now, I don't know how they got there, okay, but they're there.
this
but
is,
for-
Well, the zoning commission was formed to not allow the Nazis to have a training camp. So that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that was the first precedent to say, we don't want this business. But I'm saying now, well, it's
compose a
true.
business,
That's the history of this zoning commission. It is the truth. So I'm trying to see how we can weasel out of that to not have to regulate a
Make the decision
business.
yourself.
Well, shouldn't it be, I mean, I would think the first selectman would want a public hearing.
I think.
Well,
Yes.
if
I
we
mean,
were
we're
to
gonna have
amend the
to-
regulations,
gonna
we
have
would
to
need a
have a
public
Right,
hearing.
but we would need it for regulation purposes. I'm just suggesting that it might be useful for the sake of the town and people talking to each other
Nobody wants
to,
stand
to ask for public opinion.
That's true.
Yes.
Hoping we'll take the bullet.
right, your moratorium ended 6 days ago.
Can we extend the moratorium?
You can, but the reason this is before you today is because that moratorium lapsed. And as a result, it's now time to either decide what we need to do or refer to first selectmen or whatever the case
We
may
have to
be.
take some action.
But
Yeah.
something needs to be done in the
Right.
case of cannabis, or there's a potential, like anything else, if inaction is performed, it could get forced upon you.
Well, so like I said, we can't extend the moratorium again. And then that's not considered inaction, that makes.
No, that's the moratorium. Yeah, the purpose of the original moratorium was to give you the time you needed to review different towns and decide what you want to do.
I thought the board of selectmen were gonna act or do something about it and get back to us.
I will reach out to their office tomorrow to inquire as to,
What-
you're 100% right. It shouldn't be up to this commission to dictate
Right.
Yeah, why should
the
we catch
massive
the buck?
direction that Southbury could
I
potentially.
mean,
Why don't we push the buck back
personally,
Right.
I don't want it.
Agreed.
or over?
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
personally,
I
I don't
think-
want it. I don't know how the rest of the board members feel.
I think
but
we all agree.
I don't think that should come from us.
No.
I think that's fair.
I mean, it's our
They're entitled to make an
responsibility to set
application
the
just like any
regulation,
other
though.
business.
Not as of right now.
Her reading
Not as
was
right now,
bugging
but
me.
in
I couldn't
general,
come-
You know, if
Yeah,
you-
they're gonna get treated like liquor
Exactly.
That
I
will-
mean, let's
if-
hear them out.
if we don't do anything.
Right, but if
We
we,
may end up
but,
saying no.
yeah, but there's no one, is there someone applying?
No.
Right, but that's what I'm,
We've gotten inquiries.
oh, we got, but
We've
that's what
gotten
I'm saying. I
inquiries.
think if it's a kind of, slippery slope. Because,
I just, you know,
Well,
I
we
don't
couldn't
think we
have it
should.
as it right now because we don't meet the population density
Right.
required. So that was Judy's point.
Is that true?
Is
I
that,
don't know,
think we
I thought our population was higher than 20,000, quite honestly.
we're
No,
like
what I was-
18,000.
Yeah.
That's what,
Is
I
it-
was
is
looking
it
at it,
one
was around 20.
19
Per
something.
town,
Right, yeah.
That,
is it one per 25,000? But any town can have at least one?
that's an interesting question.
That is
I've
an
I've
interesting
wondered
question.
about
I don't
That's not
know.
the way I
Damn
understood it,
division
but
anyway.
yes, that's worth sussing out, absolutely.
Gary, I agree with your original instinct. I really do. I think it's too much of a hot topic for this commission to be completely
Yeah.
solely responsible.
Hang ourselves out to dry.
Would you like
I
to
want my
make a
tires slapped.
motion that I draft up a memo to the first selectman?
Yes.
Yes,
Make a
please.
motion that, Jordan, you draft up a memo to Jeff regarding our concerns that we believe the selectmen should give us direction on how they believe the town should go.
Understood.
And,
I second
And
that.
then once, if they say, we think that we should have it, we can use the revenue, all right, then we'll find someplace to put it.
We gotta get to work, yeah.
And we'll say, per the direction of the.
my question is, never mind, I'm not gonna ask the question.
I'm so
I'm not digging my own grave on this one, never mind, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna put it?
Wherever we decide to put a doggy daycare and a piggery,
We'll put it right there,
put the pot shop.
next to the piggery.
It has to be next to a piggery.
Could be the name of the business. They can maybe counteract each other.
And it would be called PDP, Pig, Dog, and Pot.
They can use bacon.
You ever lived
15
near
years
a
ago,
vineyard?
15 years ago plus,
Not a big one,
we contemplated a red light district.
little one.
No, I
Where
missed
can
that.
Where can we go with that?
I missed out on that one, wow.
Who knew?
Gary got to have all the fun.
Oh,
I'm
you
telling you.
did.
I'll tell you what.
Suddenly got pretty spicy.
On that one, the Board of Selectmen actually chimed in and says no.
Well, good.
Well, then we've got
There we go.
precedence.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one?
So should we talk about the red light district or what?
Absolutely. I think we
Add that
should use
into
it.
the memo, we'll do
Absolutely.
that, sure.
And where was that gonna go? Heritage Village?
Yeah, they're gonna be down by the.
Well, if you
by
think
the
about it,
Tony.
if you think about it.
Right along Poverty
So
Road.
you're gonna, like, everybody be walking distance, It would be traffic
And they were
issues.
gonna put sidewalks in.
Friendlies.
Or turn Main Street into Berlin Turnpike.
Okay, we're having too much fun.
Friendlies instead of the red light. It's
All right, so I guess we're done.
close enough.
I'm sorry, what was your point?
Done.
Oh, we're done. Oh, well, I moved that we adjourned.
No, we're done, yeah.
Oh, I can't do that? What do I have?
Oh, yeah.
Memo back.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That's a very wise
Now can I
move,
move that we
Gary.
adjourn?
Yes, you can.
I move that we adjourn.
Second it.
All in
Favor?
favor? Aye.
We'll send out the draft regs anyway. You guys can peruse them, but you're gonna kick it up to the first selectman anyway.
And we think we don't have.
Egregious is like never seen before, or just sort of, it's a lot, and it's a mess. All right, it's a big word, egregious.
Milford, go to Newtown, go to New Milford, go to
We can't even tell people.
I got an email from RTC today.
If you put, like,
Wanna
your
know
front
if
porch
you're still
light.
serving on the zoning commission. I guess you're up for the election.
Oh, my God, yeah, no, I'm having way too much fun here.